Welcome to Hear Me Out, where Josh is going to get his opportunity to rebound on this episode. We're just friends who likes arguing about sports and likes talking about sports, and today we're going to start by discussing whether or not we let social media dictate how we view players. We can start with Josh on this one.
Okay. So in my opinion, it's a big yes.
Okay, so this is why Josh is wrong.
That didn't take long. One of my biggest reasons I feel it's a yes is because I think our culture today, at the end of 2020, a lot of what people believe is decided by social media, not just sports, not to be that like back in my day guy, but it is true that, as social media becomes more prevalent, I've noticed more and more of kind of this groupthink mentality out of people nowadays. I mean, what's said on social media kind of just is what's true, and the virality of videos and comments from players and all sorts of things, they explode and they can really help shape the way we view people, especially because nowadays, especially on social media, the immediacy is more important than the accuracy. So a video or a comment or a tweet or whatever will get blown up everywhere, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy did this thing or said this thing or whatever. You find out a few days later it's not true, but it's too late. All the people who saw that first initial headline and have already made up their mind on that player, they're not going to change their mind later. They may not even see the headlines coming out correcting it. So this immediacy of social media and this kind of groupthink, it plays a big part in shaping the way I think most people view these athletes now.
So a great example of what I'm going to call social media malpractice is I saw a tweet earlier today, and this isn't getting political, but there was a news person who posted that Julian Assange got a pardon today. And then about an hour later, he posted, no, disregard that previous tweet. It was sent by error. That first tweet about the pardon got 78,000 likes. The next tweet got 4,000 likes.
Right.
The tweet that was correcting it. Social media is an absolute vacuum. You consume what you want to consume. You consume the sources you want to consume. And specifically as this relates to sports is you have your favorite players. You make your, vacuum of information about those players. That's where you get all your information. And what really made us think about this topic was Russell Westbrook has the image on social media of being a selfish ball hog bad teammate that no one wants to play with. But then when you go look at what the people who have actually played with him say, it's resounding praise. They call him a leader, an amazing teammate, a great friend, someone you want in your locker room. It's just resounding praise. Everybody who's ever played with Russell Westbrook loves Russell Westbrook. James Harden, it didn't work out, but he wanted him back in Houston because he liked playing with Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
But because he takes a lot of shots, he has a high usage rate, people on social media put together this image that he's this bad teammate. And all of a sudden, that's the headline. He's a bad teammate. LeBron James somehow has this image that he's a arrogant, selfish person. All the people that play with him don't hold that opinion. They all say the same thing. He's great. He's a great, and I remember a couple years ago, someone asked, and going the other way on LeBron James, they asked Kyrie if LeBron was a father figure to him, because that was a social media narrative that LeBron's like a father figure. And of course, Kyrie was disgusted with the question. He had a right to, because he has a dad.
Right.
The narratives that we get out of social media are ridiculous. He has a dad. Why would the guy who's, 7 years older than him, I don't know how old, but 7 years older than him, be his father figure just because they play on the same team? It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And I think the nature of social media specifically plays a big factor in it as well, especially going to Twitter. I think Twitter is one of the bigger social media platforms that a lot of people are on and specifically use for sports. And
it's the biggest sports platform in the world. It's absolutely the biggest sports platform in the world.
And Twitter has become this awful, awful place.
It's a cesspool.
It is, with just no respect or morals or anything. And it's become much more about memeing and trolling and roasting. Everyone who gets on Twitter is just waiting for the next random stranger they've never met in their life to get to roast them in a comment thread so that their roast gets more likes than the person's original comment.
Ratio, and then they So people clown on KD, right, for having a burner account. I don't blame KD for having a burner account. Social media, and especially the like anonymous and whatever anonymous nature. I don't know why I was struggling to say that word. The anonymous nature of social media makes you feel like you know people that you don't actually know. So like, of course, KD is sitting there seeing people who don't know him talk about his character and put down his character and talk about him like they've been friends with him for years. Of course he's going to make a burner account, try to defend himself. It's natural. It's natural. You say, oh, grow up, let it run off your back. You've never been in that situation where like people you don't know confidently feel comfortable pretending that they've known you for years. It's insane. And playing in this kind of day, and Dak Prescott, bless his heart, was talking about how hard it was for him to be, the leader of the Dallas Cowboys after we know what tragic thing happened with his brother. We know being the leader of America's team, whether or not you like the Cowboys, they're still America's team. They're the most popular team in America one way or the other.
Right.
Being the leader of that team's hard, especially in today's when he's criticized for everything. And then what did Skip Bayless say? Oh, I don't have any sympathy for him. He needs to grow up. He's the leader of America's team. As if his spot in the NFL elevates him above mental health.
Right. Yeah, it's and I think that Skip's comments were especially harmful with everything going on with mental health right now and how much more importance that we as a country and as a planet are trying to put on the importance of that. And I think people like Skip and you and me and Jacob and all the people on Twitter that we're talking about, I mean, it's really easy to nitpick what these guys are doing all day because we get to just sit at home and not actually get to do it. I mean, Skip Bayless sits in an office and talks about people playing sports. He doesn't have to go out there and do them, and Dak has to go out and do them every day, live through all those hardships. Himself personally, he doesn't get to just sit there and talk about it like we do. We turn on our cameras and talk for a while and then turn them off and we're done with it. That's these guys' lives that they deal with every single day, and I think social media makes it so easy to just sit from the sideline and expect the absolute impossible out of people. I can't tell you, every time I see any account, whether it's ESPN or Bleacher Report or some other reporter, who will tweet out an accomplishment, a stat, an award, anything related to sports, click the comments, scroll down, the first one is some guy whose face isn't even his profile picture, immediately discrediting what just happened. Immediately. For no reason, with no proof. Aaron Rodgers threw a lot of touchdowns. Oh, it's because the defense he played sucked. We have a woman kicking kickoffs and extra points for Vanderbilt. It's a publicity stunt. I mean, no matter what happens, these people are discrediting it because they get to sit at home, not deal with the consequences of what they say, and they don't even have their pictures in their profile picture. So
there's nothing there's no repercussions for lying on social media. There just isn't. It'd be impossible to do anything like that. So you can just get on there and say whatever you want. And like I said, the personal nature of social media, you follow a celebrity, they send a tweet, it's right to your phone. It's like they're sending to you. It's like they're talking to you. It makes you feel like you know them. It makes you feel like you have some kind of relationship with them that you don't. They don't know who you are. There's whole accounts dedicated to discrediting everything LeBron James does, including his I Promise school, including his philanthropy, including his anything he does. There's whole accounts dedicated to him. He made some comments about China, whether you agree with him or not. People still, anything he does, they're posting about his comments. They're posting pictures of him with a Chinese flag behind him. You don't know him. You don't know what led to his comments. You don't know the context of his comments. You don't know how his full opinion on it. All you know is like this 10-second clip that he said, which he shouldn't have been asked a question about it. He's a basketball player. If he wants to go off, and this goes for all athletes, if they want to talk about politics or if they want to give their opinion on anything, they're free to do that. One way or the other, whoever they support, either side, they're free to give their opinions on things. Just because you disagree with their opinion on them doesn't give you the right to harass them and discredit all their accomplishments. We got to remember, this is their livelihood. This is what they do for a living. It's what they put all their time into. I mean, if someone came to your job and anytime you did anything like, oh man, you're garbage. Oh man, this guy's better at that job than you. Oh man, you're terrible. Like, no one would like to deal with that kind of pressure. And that's what they have to deal with day in and day out, all because of the rise of social media.
Yeah, and I think one thing that always makes me laugh with it. I mean, one guy that I see slandered every time his name comes up on social media is Dwight Howard. I mean, anytime people talk about Dwight Howard, they're just roasting him for whatever reason under the sun. Most of it completely unwarranted. And it always makes me laugh because all these people sit at home and tweet their threats and their insults and their jokes and memes and roasts or whatever, as if Dwight Howard couldn't fold them all up like pretzels. Like, you would never say these things to these people's face.
And Dwight Howard, by all accounts, I don't know him personally, but by all accounts of people who play with him, is a fantastic guy. Mm-hmm. Everyone that plays with him says he's one of the nicest guys that you could play with. But because he's not as good at basketball as he used to be, but he's still around, still wants to play, that gives you the right to attack his character. Or I get making jokes. I'm not trying to sit here and police jokes. When someone messes up, make memes about it, joke about it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you're going beyond that to assassinating someone's character, harassing their every accomplishment, just because for whatever reason you have it out for that player. If you have an account right now on Twitter solely dedicated to attacking some athlete or team, what are you doing with your life? Like, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah, it's not great. And I think social media, kind of what I alluded to earlier, the state of it now, how people are and how people use social media, it's such a poor place for healthy discourse and conversation. You can't even talk to people about sports on social media anymore because, like I said, it's just you'll say your opinion, some guy's going to roast you with a funny meme reaction picture or GIF, and then that tweet will get 10 times the amount of interactions as yours did because it's funny, and then all the comments underneath of it are LMAO, W, ratioed, whatever, and it's like, this is
you don't know basketball.
Nauseating. Yeah, you don't know if you have this opinion, you don't know the sport. LMAO. Yeah. What is that? You didn't even defend your own point. You just said people who don't agree with you are clueless, which is just so, I don't know. It's silly.
Yeah, I think social media is probably the biggest driver on sports now. I mean, I would even argue that like we get our sports information through social media now. Like sports isn't as much of a traditional media as it used to be. I mean, you watch the live broadcasts of sporting events and that is, but like everything else is social media. Mm-hmm. And even like players with their own personal social media accounts, how they interact with you. Almost every opinion you can have, unless you like are a legit avid fan of a sport and you like look at like the sport as it's going on, you can break it down, in real time, your opinion is gonna be completely swayed and built off of a social media narrative. And when ESPN posts the same 4 players every tweet, you're gonna think what they want you to think. And
or they have a 40-year-old guy in the office trying to tweet like an 18-year-old.
Yeah. Don't get me started on
that. That'd be a whole nother topic. ESPN's social media team needs a revamp. But
this catch was fire, guys. Fire emoji, fire emoji.
It's just like a routine 3-yard slant route, and you're like, oh my gosh.
that was like there was a tweet when the Washington football team was playing the Steelers. Terry McLaurin caught just a slant route, and they I think it was ESPN like Terry already going off, and everyone was like, bro, like he caught a 12-yard pass, man. What are you talking about? But I think that's just
this game is wild, guys. Give us a thumbs up if you agree.
Going crazy out here, you know what I mean? So social media drives us all, and every aspect of our life. Sports is no different. Sports is not an exception. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Leave your opinions on it in the comments below. Let us know if you want us to talk about anything specific. Give us suggestions. We're open to anything.
See you guys.
See you.